power of realism. Let me go to my NATO example. It's my favorite example here. The idea that you could take NATO, which was a mortal enemy of the Soviet Union, which was the predecessor of Russia, right? Russia's the largest remnant state out of the Soviet Union. It sort of inherited the mantle of the Soviet Union. The idea that you could take NATO and march it right up to Russia's doorstep and Russia's going to do nothing is lunacy. It's just lunacy. Just to take the American case, the Americans have what's called the Monroe Doctrine. The Americans basically say, I know many of you are not going to like hearing this, but it's true. This is what the Americans basically say. We own the Western Hemisphere. It's our backyard. No distant great power from Europe or from Asia is either allowed to form a military alliance with a country in the Western Hemisphere or bring military forces into the Western Hemisphere. When I was young, we had this thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Soviets put missiles in Cuba. This is categorically unacceptable to the United States. And we told the Soviets that, and we forced them to take the nuclear missiles out. Then they talked about building a naval base at Cienfuegos in Cuba. The United States again told them, this is categorically unacceptable. This is the Monroe Doctrine. You do not bring Soviet military forces into the Western Hemisphere. Let me give you a hypothetical situation. 50 years from now, China's really powerful. It forms a military alliance with Canada and with Mexico. It starts to move troops into Toronto and Mexico City. You think the Americans are just going to sit there? The Chinese ambassador to the United States and the Mexican ambassador to the United States go to the president and they say, you don't have anything to worry about. We're a benign hegemon, right? This is not aimed at you. What do you think the president's going to believe that? You think we're going to tolerate Chinese military forces in Canada or in Mexico? I can assure you we are not. The United States, you want to always remember this, is a ruthless great power. There are a few great powers in modern history that are as ruthless as the United States. We cover that up with liberal rhetoric, right? But we are ruthless, and that's not going to happen. Any country that invites one of those countries with a lot of power in Europe or East Asia into the Western Hemisphere is really asking for trouble. Well, the Russians are the same as the Americans in this regard. They do not want Ukraine and Georgia turned into Western bulwarks. Very simple.